The Walking Dead Season 3 is Telltale's most awkward entry ever. It's awkward in relation to its role in the larger saga's story, it's awkward in its content and the events and things that happen to our protagonists, it's awkward from a technical perspective, the buggiest out of the Walking Dead franchise for sure. But like an awkward person, there's something endearing about the effort. It's clearly trying to do something different, and I find myself gravitated towards the game despite all its flaws. Whether it's Javier or Clementine on screen, the core Telltale formula still works into Game 3, but by now it's starting to show its rough edges. Let's get something out of the way first. This game is not filler. You might think that after playing the game. It's not even called Season 3. It's technically just The Walking Dead: A New Frontier. But it is the third season. Clementine returns, and snippets of her story between Game 2 and 4 take place here. You'll even get to see the fates of some of our favorite characters from Game 2 here, for better or for worse. Though the ending of Game 2 does carry over, A New Frontier isn't mentioned in Game 4, spoiler alert, which is where the filler accusations come from. But after playing through this game multiple times, I'm not afraid to say that this is worth playing. Definitely over any of the DLCs the series has come with. That stuff is filler. The new protagonist is Javi Garcia, short for Javier. He and his family take center stage, acting as the emotional core of the story. And even though Clementine is really more of Javier's conscience in this season, she's still present enough that I was compelled to behave like Lee did in the first game, reprising the role of the protector, which I love. I also love this main cast, the Garcias. This dysfunctional family is the main reason I enjoyed this game. Your relationship with Clementine and the Garcias eventually informs the 4 possible endings you can get. And although the lead up to these endings still feels pretty railroaded, the range in outcomes by this endpoint is pretty broad. No one ending comes across as the best, though some are worse than others. This is arguably the closest that Telltale has come to making your choices matter. It's just once again tied to the ending more than anything else. Your relationship to this game might be completely different with the others. You might have stuck around far enough to have played this game or watched someone else play. You might have skipped it entirely alongside most of the community. I know I sure did. I was fully checked out of The Walking Dead by 2016, yet there's enough good here to wash away the bad. And again, it's not bad per se, just awkward. If you'll indulge me, I'll take you through the third season, picking apart the things I noticed and enjoyed, as well as putting some critique where appropriate. This is my beef with The Walking Dead: A New Frontier. Games 1 and 2 were clearly written with family as a central theme, but unlike this third game, the first 2 families, in quotation marks, were primarily bilateral. The daddy game. Clementine and Lee, Clementine and Kenny, Clementine and Jane. Meanwhile, in Game 3, Javier Garcia has his own relationship with his brother, David, who has his own relationship with his son, Gabe, who has his own separate relationship back with Javi, who has the hots for David's wife, Kate, who also has her own troubled relationship with Gabe, totally different from her relationship with Mariana and Gabe's relationship with Mariana, whose feelings towards David and Javi differ drastically with Kate's. You see where I'm going with this? There's this large, complex web of relationships between the Garcias than there were with any of the other groups in the previous games. Back then, groups were more about who's gonna make it all the way to the end. Slowly, but surely, you'd see our squad drop like flies, until only our protagonists remained. Game 3 revolves around these relationships. It's almost as if each character has their own single-player game that they're playing in parallel to Javi's. Only you're the one controlling Javi, so you get to make those decisions happen. But that still begs the question, how does Kate feel about David now? How does Gabe feel about David at a certain point in the game? How does Mariana feel about Clem? There's room only for one daughter in this daddy game, so put 'em up. This dynamic is, in my opinion, the single biggest difference this game has with any of the Walking Dead games, and the prologue is meant to introduce that idea. The Garcia patriarch is on death's door. He hasn't been bitten or anything, he's just dying of old age. Javi's introduced as an absentee son, arriving late to his own father's death.
David! It's David, hey! Hey, David, I had to leave my car. Traffic's just backed up for miles.
He's dead.
No, I I tried. You're a piece of shit. You know that?
There's no way that the player could ever care about or sympathize with Garcia Sr. We don't know him, and frankly, we don't really know Javi yet either. Instead, his death is used as a setup to understand Javi's relationship to his family. David, Javi's brother, blocks Javi from being able to see his dad. He's justifiably upset that Javi was late.
Everyone's here. They've been here for days, and where the fuck were you? We're there, all around him. People who love him all around him. And he's scared. I'm seeing the panic in his eyes, and he's searching the room. ¿Dónde está Javier? ¿Dónde está mi hijo? I'm there, right beside him, holding his hand. Like a good son. And he doesn't even see me. He doesn't even see me because he's looking for you.
The player isn't aware of Javi's absentee streak yet, so David might be coming off more like an asshole than a family man here. You don't even get the option to deny being late. Your options are railroaded because this isn't an RPG. It never has been. Javi is a whole character with a pre-written history the player isn't aware of, and Telltale accounted for that here. He knows he's late. He didn't prioritize this event in his own life, and now he has to own up to this mistake. His only options are to apologize over making excuses. This opening gave me a lot of hope because I think it's really well set up. Javi and David have this pre-existing relationship, and the player is naive to all of that. Why would they know? And yet the game is really effective at showing you that these two have a strained relationship, that Javi's been letting his family down for a while, but also that David has some anger issues. This is all made crystal clear in just a few seconds of dialogue. Inside, the family is in mourning. Javi's mom is taking it worst of all. As if things couldn't get any worse, the game reminds us that this is in fact a Walking Dead game, and I love how it does so.
You don't have to fill his cup up anymore, baby. Grandpa is sleeping.
No, Yaya. People's awake.
Mariana comes in and goes, "He's awake." And you know that I know that we both know what that means, but the Garcias don't know, and they get front row tickets to The Walking Dead's many cardinal rules. People dies, no bites, no disease, but wakes up back as a zombie anyway. What the fuck? Clever way of playing with the world building. Normally you'd have a ton of buildup, maybe some blood gurgling, showing a bite mark, but here we get to see what would happen if, say, a motherfucker dies right as the zombie virus is in the air, comes back alive, frame 1. The world is on the brink of falling apart, and Garcia Sr. might just be the first naturally produced zombie. Anyway, chaos unfolds. Mama Garcia gets bitten in the face, so we know she's doomed, and David takes her to the hospital. We do not get to see him again for a long time. Fucking Hector over here and the rest of the Scooby gang hop inside the car and dip on the Garcia household, but not before finding out that Hector too has been bitten. We never find out what happens to him or Mrs. Garcia, but the game progresses without them, to 3 years later. Everything that happened in Season 1 and 2 is now caught up to where we find Javi and the gang. Now, it should be pretty obvious by now that the third game is doing significantly more work bringing out our main cast's heritage. The Garcias, a Cuban-American family, won't stop reminding you of that fact, especially toward the beginning of the game.
No puedo conectarme. Dicen que no hay servicio.
I don't think this is for some insincere reason either. It's a really effective way to sell you on the fact that this cast is bound by more than just proximity.
Papá, cálmate. Soy yo, David. Estás en tu casa, cálmate.
¿Qué estás haciendo?
Él está loco. Él atacó a Héctor.
Solamente está confundido.
Mamá.
There's a history to these people, culture that binds them together, stronger than even familial ties. It also works to contrast them with the rest of the characters in the game, those who aren't part of the in-group. No one else ever brings up the fact that they're Asian or black. It's just the Garcias with the occasional Spanish. More than anyone else, this puts a spotlight on Kate. She's a Garcia in name only. She's as white as coleslaw, but the characters never doubt her commitment to the family. Well, everyone except maybe Gabe. We don't really need to be convinced that family goes beyond just blood relations. Play the first and second game. That's what they were all about. But I think it is an effective way of showing that Kate is an outsider.
Oh, when I found out David had kids, I told him, I am not changing who I am around them. And when he proposed,
I reminded him that I'm not exactly stepmother material. Case in point.
It's been 3 years since David disappeared, and all that's left of the gang are Javi, Kate, Gabe, and Mariana. They have a working car, supplies, and have been presumably living off the scraps of what's left for 3 years. It's here we're more formally introduced to the rest of the family. First, there's Kate. She's David's wife, but their relationship was strained even before the apocalypse. Now that he's gone, it's like she's been given a second lease on life. Only she hasn't told that to anybody. This is made clear throughout the game, with all of her attempts at getting inside Javi's pants. That's a little facetious. She's not saying that outright, but there's clearly some romantic tension between the two, and one of the more important choices throughout the game is seeing how far you go reciprocating those emotions.
Christ. I need to get laid. I realize that was an awkward transition. Sorry about that.
Oh, I can pull over. It wouldn't take a minute.
Wouldn't be worth it for just a minute.
Gabe and Mariana are in the back. They're a little older than Clementine was in Season 2, so you'll be dealing with teen angst on top of all the responsibilities of parenthood in the apocalypse. Gabe is the most emotional. Even though it's been 3 years since David left, he's still holding on to some hope that they'll find him. He's also got a problem with Kate, though I've played this game 3 times now and I still don't fully understand why.
Gabe.
He's the one who told me.
Ugh. Oh my god. You're even smoking in the car now?
It seems like a mix of he's noticing Kate doesn't love David, maybe it's the outsider thing from earlier, maybe it's the fact that she's growing on him and he's afraid of replacing his real mom, who goes unmentioned by the way. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. This is David's second wife. Kate is not related to Gabe or Mariana. She's the stepmom. Mariana, meanwhile, is totally comfortable with the present situation. Just let her listen to her music, and it's like you've got Clementine in the back. The most noteworthy thing about her is that she's religious, something that never comes up again in the rest of the game, but seems conspicuously set up here and then never again. I think it might just be that whole, hey, this family is Hispanic thing that really only lasts this first episode.
You praying for our safety, Mari?
I'm praying I find a candy bar.
Anyway, the crew pit stops at a junkyard looking for more food and gas. The place seems loaded for some reason, and Gabe and Mariana would much rather stay in than sleep in a car for another night in a row.
Come on, one night. We bunk down, eat a real meal.
It would be nice not to sleep in the van for a change.
Please?
Makes sense, but it's treated as like a major choice. You know where this is going, right? Nowhere, because with the exception of a few choices that I will call out explicitly, most of this game's choices, the vast majority of which, will not have any impact toward the events of this game's story. It might as well be flavor text. And the reason this one doesn't matter is because the situation quickly turns into a standoff when a couple of strangers, bandits, accost Javi, demanding an explanation as to why he's stealing their gas and their food. Kate and the kids manage to hide from the goons, but no matter what Javi says here, he'll always be knocked out and taken back to the bandits' headquarters via truck. This part really reminded me of Carter's first encounter back in Season 2, because you can try to say all the right things and still end up locked inside the truck, or Carter figuring you out. It feels like a dialogue boss fight, but it doesn't go anywhere.
Come on, man, what else? There are muertos down there. There were a bunch of them outside, too.
The dead, huh? Well then, we better take care of that, shouldn't we?
On the way to Bandit HQ, the truck you're on flips over after a fucking rogue tree just impales itself onto the windshield. God damn, we gotta deal with tornadoes too? I thought we were in Baltimore. What the fuck is going on? You get an early choice here. Shoot the guy driving you or let him go. I don't think Javi has shown the personality of someone who shoots strangers. So even if this is a choice that you can make, I never felt comfortable making that choice. I mean, getting kidnapped is pretty bad, but they could have shot you, you know? I've seen worse. Hopefully you don't shoot him because you're not the only one with a gun around here. Turns out, it wasn't so much a rogue tree, but a rogue person throwing trees at the truck, beefing with the gang that knocked you out. And for the second time back to back, you're caught in the middle of it all. Only this time, you'll be very glad to see who your mysterious kidnapper is.
Look, I'm no threat to you, okay? I surrender.
Well, that's obvious. Seeing how you didn't shoot that guy.
You might have thought that this truck had one more person on it. Psych! It's Clementine. Except this isn't the adorable little girl from the first and second games anymore. This is Clementine as a lone wolf. She's basically Jane. But she's also Javi's conscience throughout the whole game. In fact, these two's dynamic reminded me more of Luke and Clementine than Lee and Clementine. Luke had this charismatic air to him, something that clearly carried over into Javi. In another life, this game would have been Luke and Clementine searching for Alvin or something. Speaking of which, where is Alvin? Well, we won't find out for a while, but we do hop on over to a flashback sequence with Clementine. This scene is a testament to the awkwardness that overwhelms this whole entire game, because if you imported your save from the second game, you finally get to see some familiar faces, besides Clementine's. Jane and Kenny can make an appearance here, and it's worth talking about both of them in length because you're probably following along from Game 2 and want to hear my reactions to these two scenes. These scenes suck. Damn near dropped the game after watching this shit. If Kenny's your guy, then you watch as he's casually taken out by a bunch of zombies. An accident causes him to sacrifice himself for Clem. This big hulking monster of a man taken out by the Goomba of The Walking Dead. Underwhelming.
Hey, Jane, come on!
Instead, it's Jane's that makes me want to strangle somebody. Jane and Clem are off being all edgy and shit. And all of a sudden, Jane finds out she too is going to be a mom. Who's the father, you might ask? That's right, Jane is carrying Luke's baby, and it's safe to say that she overreacts. This type of thing is no joke, so I'm going to pause them for this part. Why did Telltale feel compelled to end Jane's character in this way? Seriously? Jane goes through all this hardship from games 2 to 3. She literally watches her sister die. She watches Sarah die, she watches Luke die. And it's the prospect of being pregnant and vulnerable for 9 months that scares her off for good? What is that supposed to mean? It's almost as if Telltale wants to piss us off. Doesn't this make you mad? Isn't this subverting your expectations? It's not, bro. It's a character assassination. This and these are not the same characters from their previous games. They are unrecognizable. This is why I think the best endings in Game 2 is to just ditch Kenny or Jane after you've chosen one or the other, because at least then you can live on with the hope that they're alive. Somewhere. Ignorance is bliss. Back in the real world, we find safety in the settlement of Prescott, an airfield turned encampment that's pretty welcoming to strangers and to people holding their guns out in the open. Clementine, put that shotgun away from me, will ya? You're scaring the hoes. Tripp is the big blonde guy that welcomes you in, and he's the best. Tripp is almost an exact clone of Kenny, only without the whole vengeance thing. He consistently helps you out throughout the whole game, asking nothing in return. What a guy.
Once the walkers pass, I'm taking this guy to a junkyard off the highway.
My family might be trapped there, hiding from some very bad dudes.
Well, shit. I'm truly sorry to hear that.
Clem takes you to the town bar, and you get a little bit of exposition on Javi's history. You know, why was he such an absentee son, brother, and uncle to his family? It's been hinted at already, but Javi is famous.
Hold on a minute. Don't I know you from somewhere?
I don't know. Maybe.
Garcia. Javier Garcia. For what it's worth, I think you got screwed on the gambling thing. A lifetime ban. Shit.
Yeah, he's a celebrity in-game. A baseball player in the major leagues. He's even got that cocky frat boy energy about him that makes him a total social magnet. It's such a stark contrast from Lee, who also assumed leadership roles within his team, but mainly because the group kept running out of alternatives. He's also just a lot more stoic and serious, more of a vessel for the player to imprint themselves on. Javi, on the other hand, has a whole personality. Almost all of his dialogue options have a joke choice. It feels like I'm playing Fallout 4 with its infamous sarcastic dialogue choices.
It's a good plan, if we make it back.
But this time it makes sense. Humor is part of Javi's character.
Let's just say I wouldn't invite him to my wedding.
Yeah, I wouldn't fucking go.
Good, because I just said you wouldn't be invited.
And even though you might not think he's funny, the characters in game certainly think he is.
You want an autograph or something?
If I had a baseball, I'd take you up on it. But I'm fresh out.
Javi got banned from the MLB for betting on himself, except he really doesn't come off as this super arrogant guy. If anything, he's quite genuine throughout the whole game. Obviously, the best part of Javi being a baseball player is that running around with a baseball bat feels natural for him. He fights with the power of 10 men with a bat in hand, and it makes total sense.
Batter up, fuckface!
Despite the good times, Clementine manages to get herself in a bit of a pickle. This dingleberry right here has apparently scammed Clementine for a couple of bullets, and she, well, actually we almost died because of those dud bullets a second ago.
Fuck! These bullets won't fire!
She wants her money back. Your role now is to either back Clementine up or try to defuse the situation. So what do? You think you really have a choice? So this is the first part of the beef, if you will. The awkward sauce that makes this game the weird black sheep that it is. And it's not just Clementine, but she is consistently connected to all the things that make this game awkward. Don't get me wrong, Clementine is one of the best parts of this game. What's not to like about her? She shows up on screen and the energy of the whole game totally changes, for the better. It's like when Kenny showed up back in Season 2. I want to see how this story ends now. We know this girl. But Javi doesn't. Yeah, see, this is the main problem. Remember in the prologue, I made a small deal out of the fact that Javi is a pre-existing character, right, with his own story and relationships? Unfortunately, this is still part 3 of a multi-entry series, and so the player also has their own pre-existing relationship to the game, to the characters, to the world of The Walking Dead. And so far, Telltale has been pretty effective at catering to that.
Boy, you have it wrong, buddy. I don't control her.
But now that Clementine is here, the devs have run into an awkward dilemma. Because this gun fires off no matter what side you take. And the fact that it does fire makes it seem, for a moment, that maybe Clementine was wrong about the dud bullets. Now there's a ton of evidence here that the dude was a scammer. You know, he wasn't really flinching all that hard on the first few shots. It seems like 90% of the bullets were in fact duds. And Tripp says it right after, like, nobody really liked this guy. But the last bullet does fire, and this man does take a bullet to the head, and Clementine is no longer an innocent little girl. She's asking you to lie so you can get away with murder. Because that's what this was, right? Moida. Except you'd be totally justified in assuming that Clementine is worth protecting because you have a pre-existing relationship with her, one that Javi doesn't have. You've probably either played or seen a playthrough twice, games 1 and 2, where Clementine was a morally good character. So, this moment, rather than make you think, has Clementine turned to the dark side? Should I throw her under the bus here? You're actually most likely thinking, good riddance, Clementine can do no wrong. But again, Javi doesn't know that. There's a serious dissonance here between Javi and the player that permeates the whole game, and this scene highlights it more than most. For all he knows, this child just shot a man in cold blood.
Police! Help!
There aren't a lot of choices where you can disagree with Clementine. In fact, a lot of this game is about winning her over. This scene is one of those moments, but you can be an asshole. And maybe you should. Maybe Javi should try to win Conrad and Tripp's good graces because it doesn't really make sense that he doesn't. But he's ultimately controlled by the puppet master that is you and Telltale. Because ultimately, no matter what you do, this game will still railroad you onto Clementine's side. So that's a double whammy of awkwardness. A triple whammy if you're already on Clementine's side because morally, this is awkward too. So it's awkward because there's dissonance. It's awkward because none of this ultimately matters in the moment. And it's awkward because Clementine just shot a man in cold blood and the game never comes back to address that. Okay.
I'd have punched your fucking lights out. Both of you. But Eli was a grade A certified dipshit. I'll even have someone come take a look at that cut.
We both get thrown in jail. You might be able to avoid this if you're an asshole to Clementine, but I always end up in jail every playthrough, just being honest. The town doctor gets called up to see Javi's wounds. This is Eleanor. She and Tripp have a thing going on, but it's not going too well for my man Tripp here. This is another running theme in the story.
Romance.
Javi gets a chance to flirt a bit with Eleanor, but like many other things in this game, this got dropped entirely after this scene.
Why is it always the pretty ones who end up causing the most trouble? As if good looks equal bad behavior or something.
Yeah? Well, it takes one to know one.
One what?
One pretty troublemaker.
Oh, behave.
Yeah, baby! There is no in-game tracker for love or romance with anyone else but Kate. So if you like Eleanor better, and you chose to flirt with her right here, sorry. Last choice of the game is presented to you here. Both Tripp and Eleanor have offered to take you back to the junkyard to rescue Kate and the family. But Eleanor is willing to do it right now, in the dead of night. With Tripp, you'll be able to take a car and get there faster, only you'll have to wait till morning. So who do you take with you? Let's take Eleanor, at least she's a doctor, so maybe she can tend to some wounds if we find any. Back at the junkyard, you find Mariana huddled up inside the RV, safe and sound. Gabe and Kate are stuck inside a truck, and after wiping out all the zombies around them, you finally get to reunite with the family. Yippee! Everyone is safe and sound. The gang gets to meet Clementine and she starts yapping about some car that you promised her. Like, what the fuck? Shut the fuck up, Clementine. Can't you see we're having a moment? Can't you see that the emotional core of this story is reunited and safe at last?
Mari!
You've probably seen this part too. Your cute little nephew gets blasted by the same strangers that bonked you in the head a day before. I'm going to go ahead and argue that this is probably the most shocking moment in the whole series, mainly for its brutality. I mean, shit! This series isn't a stranger to gore or death, but we all saw Sarah's death coming, right? You and I got to see Lee slowly wither up and die for a full episode. Those scenes are heartbreaking, but they're not quite shocking, are they? Maybe the closest thing was that cannibal reveal in the first game. Now that was memorable. Felt like Sherlock Holmes piecing it all together in real time. But it's like, here, I can kind of feel my spider sense instingling, like this is too good, right? This is too wholesome for too long. And then BAM! It happens. I expected it, but kind of didn't. Still brutal. Mariana's death tells you from the get-go that any of these bozos could die in this game. The only two characters with plot armor here are Javi and Clementine. That's it. Mariana's death carries a lot of weight into episodes 3 and 4. You'll see why, but instead of giving us a momentary respite or a chance at vengeance, the game uses Mariana's brain blast to leave us on the edge of our seats. You get one last choice here though, ditching this scene to make a break with your family or standing and fighting with Clementine. It's a no-brainer for me, but it's also one of the many Clementine choices spread throughout the game. Siding with Clementine in these moments, just like in the bar, earns invisible points toward the final ending of the game. But I'd be lying if I said that I didn't want to just shoot some bandits in the face for what they did to Mariana here. The episode started with the death of a major family member, and it ends with one. But this is only the start of the full game. Is it going to end with another major character death? Wink, wink. Let's go to episode 2, because to understand the whole family bit, you'll have to see how the rest of the game plays out. And what better way to talk about family than to talk about how one is made.
Wouldn't be worth it for just a minute.
The second episode opens up with a flashback, and it's relevant to the love theme. Javi and Kate are having some one-on-one time, and even though it's not physical, it does feel intimate. They talk about Javi taking some time off to recover after being fired from baseball. You know this already. Kate is all for it, but it's David who's actually got a problem with it, seeing as Javi's bunking with them for the time being. We get to see a little bit of Kate's anxieties with David. She's clearly not happy in the relationship, even 3 years before, and that she's felt that way for some time.
You know I'm just messing around, but it's hard to say no to a fresh start.
Javi comes in and he's got all the good vibes David's lacking, so it's no wonder that over time, Kate falls for the better brother.
You'll land on your feet.
Oh, here's hoping. I could use a fresh start. I'll probably just travel around, see what's out there.
Want to take me with you?
Oh my.
Just like with Clementine, this game gives you a ton of choices throughout to show Kate what she means to you, and to not so subtly push you towards the direction of romance.
Hello?
The game continues off the shock of the last episode's ending. If he went with Clementine, Javi wakes up to the bandits retreated, and Clementine impressed that he stuck around to help her fight.
Thank you for staying. I think you probably saved my life.
You give Mari a proper burial and talk about the bandits that attacked. Apparently, this group housed Clementine not too long ago. They carry these tattoos on their body and go by
the New Frontier.
Interesting. Back in Prescott, you reunite with Kate, Gabe, and Eleanor. Kate's not doing so well physically, and Gabe isn't doing too well mentally. He's justifiably not taking Mariana's death very well, and needs some extra time with Javi one-on-one to process this recent tragedy.
I want to go back and bury Mariana.
We buried her. It was peaceful.
How could it have been peaceful?
I know how much you miss her, Gabe. I miss her too.
And Kate, she needed me during her surgery. She needed my help. I just ran away like a stupid little kid.
This is a good time to start talking about Gabe. Just like Kate and Clementine, Gabe is one of the central characters of Game 3. A lot of the drama revolves around what Gabe thinks, says, and does. He's only now been able to catch his breath. Again, only barely processing how fast life is moving after years of just road trip throughout the East Coast. Safe and sound with his uncle, his stepmom, and his sister. Well, now that's been canceled. As far as he knows, his only direct relative left is Javi. But the dude's been MIA for the last few days. What's to say he's not next on the chopping block?
I can't be some helpless little boy anymore. I need to be a man. Just like my dad was.
At least that's what I think he's thinking, because otherwise Gabe comes off as a total dork this game. Part 4 of this video is dedicated to exploring the two main children in these games, Clementine and Gabe. But for now, just know that I wasn't finding Gabe to be all that likable, and I wasn't sure if that was part of the challenge of Game 3, to act as the protector of a spoiled brat that eventually goes through some sort of character development. By now, I was just kind of wishing I could swap him for Mariana. Maybe that's intentional.
Great. Another shitty cramped night in our shitty cramped van. Hooray.
No rest for our heroes though. The New Frontier show up at Prescott demanding Javi give himself up. He took down some of the goons with Clementine, and now they're asking for revenge. Even though they totally shot first, like this isn't even an argument. I don't care that one Mariana died to 10 of these guys. There's nothing that Javi did, at least in my playthrough, that deserves a child murder ambush.
I wish we hadn't had to come all the way out here, but unfortunately, Badger here says you attacked his man.
They're not taking no for an answer though, and they've got leverage.
Francine! You hurt her? I'll kill you!
If you decide you're willing to give yourself up for Francine's sake, you can do that, or you can start blasting. Up to you. But of course, no matter what, a shootout will commence. Either you do the blasting, or Clementine does it for you. Francine always gets killed in the process, and Conrad always goes, Francine!
Shit! Francine! Francine!
And the most evil goon amongst the New Frontier, this bearded guy called the Badger, shows up with a siege truck filled with walkers and blows up the front door, unleashing zombie hell onto the little town of Prescott, now overrun with the infected. The New Frontier bail after this, but the town isn't able to fight back the invasion. Tripp, Eleanor, Conrad, Clementine, and the Garcias hop on to a pair of vehicles and make their escape together. Bummer, but at least the main cast is safe and sound. Except for Conrad, of course.
Oh, Conrad.
He's not a major character, but his one sticking point is that his lover just died. It's not explored in a lot of depth, but it is a foreshadow of what's to come for characters like Tripp and Javi, and maybe even Clementine to an extent. All of these characters have a love interest in this game, Clementine included, but it's most serious with Tripp and Javi. They're head over heels for Eleanor and Kate respectively, so seeing Conrad all crazy from the death of Francine is expected, but not welcome.
Francine, Prescott, all because this washed up cheat walked through our gates. I should have known it the second I looked at you.
This is a contrast from the first and second games, where love and romance were relatively absent, at least for our protagonists. Lee can have a little thing going on with Carly, which only serves to hurt the player even more when she gets shot, only one single scene afterwards. And although Clementine never had a special someone in Game 1 and 2, Kenny and James certainly do.
Clementine!
But it's treated as a weakness more than a respite, like falling in love is a mistake in the apocalypse. If we look at the source material, we also see that romance is quite prominent in those stories. Rick and Andrea, Glenn and Maggie, Carl and Enid, romance is very present in the show and the comics, my amigos, but it's quite fucking absent in the games. Not so much in Game 3. Anyway, a whole lot of nothing happens in the next part. The team gets stuck at a barricaded gas station, and it's here, trying to get these cars to move, that they run into the Horde. Kate and Eleanor manage to get their car moving, but the rest of the gang, with Tripp's big-ass truck, are stuck to hiding on rooftops, while the rest of the Horde passes by. But they're not up here alone.
Fuck you, Conrad.
Whoa, 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 stop! There's somebody over there. What? What was that? Where?
That thing's not a toy. Drop it, or you might hurt yourself.
It's Jesus.
It's Paul, but my friends call me Jesus.
Oh, right, Jesus. Yeah, no, not that Jesus. This guy is from the comics and shows too. He's fucking awesome, but we're not supposed to know that right now. We will soon though, because Jesus over here helps take us through an exit that helps the gang get out of the pickle they're in. Obviously, things don't go as planned, but we do get one of the cooler action sequences in the game. Pitch black in the sewers. We have to fight zombies without knowing where they're at physically. The zombies notoriously work off smell, and so they're at an advantage here. Nothing the gang can handle, but before we exit the sewers, Clementine has a big reveal to make.
The new frontier. But what I told you earlier, it's not the whole truth. I wasn't their prisoner. I was one of them.
Turns out she wasn't just housed by the new frontier long ago. She's an ex-member. This comes up because Jesus spills where Kate and Eleanor just headed. They're not driving to some safe haven. They're going directly into the New Frontier headquarters.
Look, I'm telling you, I'm on my way to Richmond, just like you. I lost touch with some good people there when the New Frontier took over.
What did you say?
The New Frontier? They took over Richmond? Don't tell me you didn't know that.
Fuck.
Oh, God. Eleanor and Kate. They're headed right to the middle of those assholes.
And now the rest of the crew is resolute in getting them back. Who cares that they kill children? We have to get Eleanor and Kate back. Clem is clearly not welcome there though, so once they make it out of this cave, she's gonna have to bail, but you can react accordingly depending on how you feel about her and the New Frontier by this point.
Tell me you're not still one of them.
No way. Believe me. I just had to explain, because if they're really in control in Richmond, I can't let them see me. I just can't.
This logic works on Javi, but it sure as shit doesn't work on Conrad, who eavesdropped the entire conversation and is now holding us at gunpoint if we don't give up Clementine to him. This is the culmination of Conrad's character, and about the only thing that's interesting about him. The death of Francine has driven him to insanity, and he's willing to kill you and Gabe and Clementine for the sake of revenge. No, really, if you go mute in the scene, he'll just fucking shoot all of you.
No!
Bruh. 9 times out of 10, I went with Clementine. I hope it's clear to you by now why. That a guy like me, with 2 games under his belt, would not take any chances at betraying Clementine in any way. So shooting Conrad didn't really take much thinking from me. And in my first draft for this video, I pretty much assumed that Conrad was a goner either way. Like, even if you sided with Clementine, she'd just shoot him or something, or he'd die off screen like these games love doing. Nope. If you go along with Conrad, then the man survives. He can live all the way to the end of the game here. This moment defines Conrad's existence, and is one of the few deaths in this game that is actually preventable, directly due to the player's actions. We're going to assume he's dead though, because it just doesn't feel good to give up on Clementine here. Killing Conrad means you now have to cover up the events of the last scene. You can't tell the rest of the gang what Conrad just did to you. Javi always lies via omission.
Attacked us.
What do you mean? What happened?
He and Clem started arguing, and then shit just went south.
Railroading him into the inevitable reveal scene when all of this comes to light. And I look like an asshole because I hid the truth that Conrad was about to shoot 2 kids for vengeance, and somehow that isn't as bad as a lie. Honestly, the real theme of The Walking Dead is the illusion of choice. This still isn't an RPG.
I just don't know what the hell is going on anymore.
The squad finally catches up to poor Kate huddled up inside the car Eleanor was driving. She's nowhere to be found though, presumably because she's ran for help. Clementine's also here, for some reason. Yeah, I feel like I remember ditching her in the last scene.
I'll find my own way.
It's at the gates to Richmond, the town now held by the New Frontier, that you're greeted by the same guys that nearly blew your brains out earlier this episode. And the guys that definitely blew Mariana's brains out in the last episode. Since I don't have a Clementine to bargain with, Javi has to beg to be let in. Fortunately for him, that sweet charisma stat works its magic long enough for a leader amongst the New Frontier to emerge and side with Javi. Though no one expected that leader to be a familiar face.
What the hell's going on out here?
They said they weren't here to hurt anybody, so I was trying to see if they...
Oh my god.
Dad?
Yep, David's back. And that's where episode 2 ends. The immediate implication of David's presence creates a whole host of complicated dilemmas for Javi and the team to solve. Since we're on the love theme, why don't we start with that? David's return puts Javi and Kate in an extremely awkward situation. This time, it's on purpose. David doesn't know that Javi and Kate have been closer than ever, and he definitely doesn't know that Kate intended to separate from David before the apocalypse started. Now he's got his family back, but they low-key don't want to have anything to do with him. At least not Kate. Speaking of David's family, there's the obvious problem now, that we know it was David's faction that killed his daughter. I never suspected that David put the hit on Mariana, but at this point, how can you be sure? The player barely knows David. His family know him better, and half of them fear David. So either David put a hit on a group of strangers, not knowing that they were his own family, incompetent, or he didn't put the hit, which means he's not really in charge, is he?
Men have gotta have laws, otherwise we're no better than the animals.
All these questions and more answered in episode 3. We'll come back to romance and family in a second. For now, let's talk about community. Let's talk about the New Frontier. Let's talk about the name of the game. Literally. A New Frontier. The Walking Dead, A New Frontier. A New Frontier. Did you catch the bit where the game's faction is called The New Frontier? Not Season 3, not Clementine's Adventure. The game is just called A New Frontier. This is a blessing and a curse. The name is clever once you know what the game is actually about, but I wonder if they lost out on audience recognition by not tying this game back to the original 2. Though, that might be for a reason. This game barely fits into Clementine's journey. Really a blip in her radar. Eventful, sure, but impactful? Not really. But the game's namesake, the faction known as the New Frontier, is so central to the story that it's gotta be the reason why the game is called that way, right? But it's also a new frontier, as in a new setting, new possibilities, new protagonists. A new frontier is meant to both bridge the game's main setting and faction, a violent refuge ran by the people that unknowingly killed your niece. This is why community sprung out to me as another major theme of the game. If Season 3 is consistent about one thing, then it's making this journey about more than one person. But not just family, the New Frontier represents society. What could a functioning, organized city look like in the zombie apocalypse? And what does it say about the community if it runs around killing innocent children?
He said we had to kneel. I couldn't hold on to her.
The fuck you trying to prove, Max?
They're outsiders, David. It's what we do with everybody.
Except David isn't even aware that he gave the order. Yep, we find out pretty soon that he's the guy in charge of the New Frontier from a military force projecting capacity. But he takes the news of Mariana's death with the justifiable despair that would come with it.
I'm sorry, David. She's gone.
It's strange grieving for the same person twice. Like losing something you didn't know you had. What was she like, Javi? She was so little when we got separated.
Mariana saw things that other people didn't. She told me she wanted to write down her memories to keep them alive after she was gone.
Sounds like her. Always was a dreamer.
And I hope it's not controversial to say that out of the 4 main characters that this story revolves around, David is probably my favorite, second only to Javi. Not because he's likable, but because his story is just so much more complicated and interesting than the rest of the characters. I like Javi. He doesn't really need to make all that many tough choices in this game though. This whole company's brand is about tough choices. Even if they're ultimately meaningless, the act of making a choice, that is tough, in-universe, permeates the entire catalog of Telltale games. It's no wonder then that, Season 3 included, The Walking Dead has choices matter be a theme that stays with you from game to game, and David here embodies that dilemma. Who will he choose? His family or his faction? His wife or his brother? His son or himself? The only difference here with Javi is that he makes the choices independent of the player. That's cool because it contrasts with what you're doing. David is also the most tragic character in the game. The dude watches his family slowly abandon him over the course of the prologue. He gets them back years after the zombies show up, only to realize he's lost his daughter at the hands of his own men. Then, episode after episode, what family remains slowly start to turn on him, one by one, till it's just David and Javi. The relationship between Javi and David is the best part of this game. I enjoyed that dynamic a lot more than Close Encounters with the Data game that we kind of get to relive through Clementine and Javi. But really, this is a story about siblings, about sibling rivalry. That these two will eventually face off feels like a no-brainer, but David isn't the final boss, no matter how much you antagonize him. He's just as important to persuade and pursue as Gabe, Kate, and Clementine are. It's worth bringing up one more time that we, the player, do not get to see Javi and David's relationship as they were brought up. It already exists the moment they see each other. We get snippets of what that life was like throughout the game, through flashback sequences at the start of every episode, but not enough to build the same type of relationship that Javi and his brother have in-universe. The player has to trust this game that David and Javi are extremely close. We also don't get to see David's relationship with Kate, but we know it's not a good one.
Things between me and Kate have been going downhill for a while. But if I left, it seemed like that would be best for everyone.
Kate was glad to be rid of David, and now he's back in her life. Except, you might be thankful to see David. Both you and Javi. Javi doesn't hate David. The player has no reason to hate David. Gabe loves his dad. But you trust Kate, right? There's this whole love triangle going on, and we're back to this being a complicated state of affairs for this dysfunctional family. Reuniting with your squad at the New Frontier jail, we find that Eleanor's here, safe and sound. Nobody's been hurt. But already the characters are starting to doubt you for your connection to David.
The people here in Richmond, they're New Frontier.
Oh my god.
Oh, you ain't even heard the worst part yet. One of them's his brother. I didn't even know you had a brother, Javi.
You didn't tell us he was your brother. Maybe you're just one of them, aren't you? How many times has Javi said that these motherfuckers shot his niece? Eleanor, you were there! So were you, Trip, in an alternate universe. You were both definitely there when they stormed Prescott. Like, we're obviously not friends, yet this weird tension between Javi and his friends remains throughout the whole game. It's quite literally the worst part of all of this because it makes no sense. Javi hasn't done anything yet to cast doubt on his loyalties, especially if you haven't even killed Conrad on this route. The worst part is, you can take a side here. Reassure your squad that you're on their side. You're not going to forget them once David comes calling. Or you can try to get them to trust David, which is what I ended up doing because, again, I like David. Even if I barely know him, I trust that Javi does. And I also trust that he wouldn't kill his own daughter. So something must be up that David isn't aware about. At least I hope so.
If your brother knew anything about what happened in Prescott, he's got to answer for it. They all do. I owe that to Conrad. I'm not just gonna let things slide. I've never really been an eye-for-eye kind of man. But people died. We need to even out the scales.
We need to look like we're playing along with their rules. Go along with what they say. For now. Then, when the time is right, that's when we demand justice.
Hey.
This is where you can go on your walk and talk with David, telling him all about Mariana, and he asks you who did it.
Tell me how it happened.
She was just standing there, minding her own business. She just found her lost headphones in the dirt and she was smiling. And then someone put a bullet in her head.
What kind of animal would just open fire on her like that?
An animal with your mark.
My people aren't in the habit of killing little girls.
David, I was there. They shot Kate too. Ask your buddy at the gate if you don't believe me.
Max was a part of this? Fuck.
You get to meet Ava. She's supposed to be another major character in the story, on the level of Tripp, Eleanor, and Jesus. But out of all of those characters I just listed, Ava gets the least amount of face time with Javi. You don't actually get much Javi and Ava action. It's usually in the context of having someone else mediate between you and her. So I ask, in advance, what is the purpose of Ava to the story?
Ava's my right hand. If there's anyone you can trust in Richmond, it's her.
Okay. Just walking away now? Alright. Bye, Ava. David takes you to see your family. Both of y'all's family at this point. Gabe is ecstatic to see David. Kate is faking it.
Isn't she the most beautiful woman alive?
Come on. With the lights off, you could mistake me for a walker.
I'd have to agree.
The key word being alive.
We meet Lingard, one of the leaders of the New Frontier by nature of his role as the only town doctor. We like to make fun of degrees in the Great 2026. Being a medical man in a functional society can definitely pay for itself. But in the apocalypse, your skills are so valuable, you get auto-promoted into the oligarchy of this sumbitch. This guy doesn't give off the vibe of like a stone-cold manipulator in the apocalypse, yet he's just as in charge as David. I thought this was supposed to be a cutthroat band of gang members and bandits, and Lingard just threw a whole wrench into that equation.
How did you find someone with skills like these? Wound like this kills 9 out of 10.
That would be Eleanor. One of my friends you threw in quarantine.
Well, she's no use to anyone there. We should let her out. I'll vouch for her.
Kate gets some one-on-one time with Javi, and she's fucking terrified. Reuniting with David has opened up some psychological wounds that this game never really explores in too much depth. Kate and David's relationship is really just vague. There is no question that Kate wants out, but the reasons why are kept from the player.
These people are killers. And David? David threw his own brother in a cell.
Yeah, I know what you mean. This place gives me the creeps.
I'm glad to hear that. I was afraid you'd been won over by the security here.
Kate is clearly uncomfortable from reuniting with David, but why? This is a genuinely interesting plot point. I care about David and Kate. I'd prefer to keep this family unit together, but it sounds like Kate will do anything to stay away from David. Why? What could I do to fix this situation? That was my immediate question, and it's probably where my biases start to show. Because maybe it doesn't matter why. Maybe that's the point. Trust her. I'm here trying to find any reason as to why Kate wants a divorce, separate David. Was he being violent, cheating on her, neglecting his family, or his role as a partner? Maybe he was being financially or sexually abusive. Anything to go off of besides them just being a poor match. Then I'd be more convinced of taking Kate's side. Maybe it's just the situation of being married to his personality, of being part of a family that doesn't really see her as part of that family. Little Gabe can be a pretty big fucking jerk this game. I think the true answer is that you're not meant to try to dig up Kate's reasons. You're meant to accept that this marriage is over, she's her own woman. Then again, this game has so many rough edges that I'm not even sure if it's just another case of unfinished or cut content. Maybe there was supposed to be a scene where Kate slaps David and he slaps her back. Maybe there was supposed to be a flashback where she shows up with bruises. I don't know. It'd be too on the nose if that were the case. I much prefer this put your trust in Kate thing that they're doing. I just don't know if I'm reading too much into it. I think ultimately, if David were physically abusive, then it'd be really hard to sympathize with him, which is part of what this game wants you to do. This game could not work if David were violent against anyone else but you. He can punch you all he wants. It's fine. It's the player, it's Javi, it's his brother. Makes sense. Lay a hand on Kate, Gabe, or Clem, and it's over for you, big dog. It's almost as if someone at Telltale thought about that exact idea and just nixed it in order to make David seem more sympathetic, more of a person that you can grow to like despite it all. When David comes back, he whisks you away to the local church where the New Frontier houses their leadership. Meet Clinton Joan. With David and Lingard, these four make up the core leadership of the New Frontier. Instead of a stoic strongman or a leader by circumstance, The New Frontier is ruled by a doctor, a botanist, a military officer, and a diplomat. It's a technocracy where the top leadership positions are reserved for the most qualified, the most elite members of the community get to lead.
No complaints here. I get that you guys have a way of doing things.
Thank you.
There's that theme again, see? Community doesn't just mean the group itself. It's your role within the community that Telltale has brought front and center. Season 3, more than the other seasons, wants to comment on our characters' relationships to work, their role in society, however you prefer to call it. This is important for this game. What was that life before the apocalypse? How many times did Lee's background as a history teacher come up during the course of the first game's story? If I recall, it was really just a way for other characters to get to know Lee. Conversation topics, you know? It's been long enough now that many characters don't have a life before the apocalypse. Think of Alvin. He was born after the zombies arrived. Clem and the kids probably remember TV in elementary school, but they never even got to think about what they wanted to do for a living before the dead came knocking. In Game 3, not every character is an unemployed child. Javi is a baseball player, and you're reminded of that every episode.
Oh yeah! I might get $10 for this!
David is a soldier. He worked in the army and is now the head of security at the New Frontier. Everything to David is a battle, a war, and he runs the New Frontier like he'd run a platoon. All of this is consistent with who David was before the apocalypse. This brings us back to the New Frontier, the chief botanist, the chief doctor, the chief soldier, and the chief diplomat. Some of these make sense. We definitely need someone to grow food, so a chief farmer has to be someone in charge. Checks out. We definitely need a soldier to organize and manage our defenses, both against zombies and human threats. Makes sense to me. A medical man for wounds. Yeah, that's important. Cool. And a diplomat. That's just a politician, isn't it? Someone with, like, pretty good social skills. Not an elected official, at least not in America, but definitely someone who doesn't come with any particularly useful survival skills come a zombie invasion. Yet, the point is made that someone who knows how to use words and relationships can find their way into power anyway. This is true in real life, isn't it? The second that society manages to return even into a simple form of organization, a politician emerges as a viable role within the community, a leadership role. And Joan, from the get-go, is low-key presented to us as the de facto leader of this entire operation. Her vote is technically equal among the four we've met, but her dialogue and the way that others refer and defer to her makes her seem like she's really in charge.
We had a terrible winter just after we moved here. We lost a great deal. Loved ones who left holes in our lives. Protecting my people from that kind of pain, that's what keeps me awake at night. It turned me into a perpetual night owl.
You're here to meet the squad, but it pretty quickly turns into a trial for your potential expulsion from Richmond. Clint, in particular, seems real pissed at Javi, which distracts from the fact that Joan was going to vote you out no matter how many children Badger's killed. You're just not privy to that information yet.
That's not all. Rufus said Clementine ran his truck off the road just to break him free.
Clementine?
The girl we had trouble with in the past. You can always judge a man by the company he keeps.
Your history with Clementine gives her enough reason to throw you out for good. Lingard is absent, so the two are able to outvote David despite his lackluster effort. In fact, keep Mariana's death to yourself. David won't even bring it up himself.
One of your people, some asshole called Badger, he put a bullet in a little girl, my niece, David's daughter.
What? Damn it, Javi.
Eleanor gets to stay too because she's a doctor. Remember, they value skills in this society. Everybody else officially banned. On the way out, Ava drops some stuff to help you on your way. This is your second interaction with her, and it's immediately overshadowed by what she gives you. A dope-ass aluminum baseball bat, which gives Javier superpowers. Remember, Ava's supposed to be a major character, and this is about as much we get in this third episode. After a couple of minutes of possibly the only satisfying QuickTime event in this whole franchise, we get some real talk with Tripp. An opportunity to actually get to know our supporting cast. This is where we first learn about what his relationship with Eleanor was like. They were a thing, now they're not. There's still some feelings left over, especially from Tripp's side of things, and romance, again, Big theme of the game. It's central to Kate and Javi's relationship, and going forward, central to Tripp and Eleanor.
I know Eleanor told you that she and I were whatever we were, but that's over now. I respect her wishes. I really do. I just wish my heart respected mine.
Other characters are also allowed to have romantic interests too, right? They look to Javi for advice. Why Javi?
I gotta tell you, man, I thought you and Kate were, I wouldn't have guessed she was married to not you.
Since we're following the route where Conrad was shot dead, this is the part where Clementine comes back, and she regales us on her origin story with the New Frontier. We get flashbacks in this game across two characters, both Javi and Clementine. We've been seeing blips of this throughout the game, but I've saved it here to talk about some of the main ones. In her flashbacks, she gets rescued by Ava at an abandoned RV, so it's valid to assume that Ava and Clementine are probably pretty close. Ava was Clementine's into the New Frontier. In a later flashback, we see how she tries to steal medicine from Lingard, specifically for Alvin. He's been sick and deemed doomed, so no medicine for the baby. She gets caught, and as punishment, David exiles Clementine for petty thievery. Okay, maybe it's not petty, she was stealing valuable drugs, but the reason seems justified. She didn't do it out of malice. Even David acknowledges this. But here we go. To add insult to injury, David insists on keeping Alvin whilst pushing Clementine out of the community, which comes off as unnecessarily cruel. Because if they really did believe Alvin was a lost cause, they'd just let them both go, right? Instead, he forces Clementine to separate from Alvin, creating a permanent enemy in Clementine and nudging the player against David if they think this is indefensible. Seriously, David comes off as a psycho here. Who the fuck separates a mother from their child? I recognize it's not as cut and dry as that. Clem is more like Alvin's guardian. She's also a kid, a teenager, but doesn't that just make this worse? That David is willing to push out children into the zombie-ridden wilderness? For a guy who's supposed to be the tough but fair leader of the New Frontier, David's decision seems totally irrational here.
Let her say goodbye. We owe her that much, at least.
Fine. You heard her. Say what you need to say, then you go.
Really, Clem?
You're a piece of work. You know that?
You deserve everything you get.
Back in the real world, the crew has been following a map left by David, which takes them to a warehouse in the middle of nowhere. Fighting your way through zombie muck, David shows up, revealing he wasn't trying to separate you from Kate and Gabe, but rather trying to dig at why members of his crew are taking orders from somebody else. He's led you to a warehouse where Max and Badger are hiding out, and it's here that the game reveals their real goals in the story. I haven't been totally clear on who these guys are, because frankly they're hardly important. Just know that Max is the sympathetic bad guy who's been the most vocal member of the guys shooting at you since the start of the game.
Whoa! You didn't tell me you had a hostage.
Badger is the bearded guy. He's likely the one that actually killed Mariana and is definitely the one who pushed all those zombies into Prescott via Trojan truck. He's the real villain of this game, so far.
Fuck him. I'd do that little bitch again just to see her head pop.
The warehouse is apparently some sort of hideout because it's here you find out that these rogue soldiers from the New Frontier have been stealing supplies from other towns, including Prescott. For years, actually. Jesus notices that some of the stuff is from the Kingdom, another prominent faction from the comics and TV show, and the one that Jesus is from.
This is bigger than just Prescott. There's spoils from other towns here, too. Towns I heard got raided a while back. There's stuff here from the Kingdom.
David is totally bamboozled from this whole ordeal, but Max and Badger aren't too far away, so the squad surprise attacks them until it's just you and Badger. This scene is presented to you as a major source for catharsis. It's implied, though never clear, that Badger shot the bullet that killed Mariana, so whether or not you decide to kill him here is not up to me to justify. This seems like a pretty clear moral choice. Personally, I think that if Mariana were here, she'd want me to spare Badger. She was a religious girl, and it's through faith that you learn the importance of things like non-violence, of not holding grudges, not seeking revenge when you've been hurt or spurned by somebody else. Sparing Badger makes you the stronger person. It shows the world that Javi is capable of more than just swinging a baseball bat. Seeing Badger live and turn a new page is one of the most satisfying moments of the whole game, and one that recontextualizes the true antagonist of this game.
Get a goddamn hold of yourself!
As an organization that has a force to be used for the will of those in power to subjugate the weak and prevent others from usurping them. Ooh, Javi. Javi, you missed a spot there, big dog.
Batter up, fuckface!
Max survives the encounter, and you spare him with the caveat that he needs to confess to his crimes. Which he does, to everybody's surprise.
Joan was in on it. We did it on her orders. She said we needed it to survive.
Back at home, Joan has been secretly ordering the raids on fellow factions. Even if Badger pulled the trigger, it was Joan that gave the order. If we can expose her for these injustices, maybe David can take control back from her with the support from Clint and Lingard. The crew decides to head back to do just that. Only with all this new information, Jesus finally has what he wanted. As you may know from the comics already, Jesus is really part of Rick's crew, so he's got to go back to being a TV comic book character. Nice knowing you, Big J.
My people need to know about what we found here.
What about your missing friends?
I'm not holding out much hope. Don't have time to keep looking. They'd want me to get home and warn them. So that's what I'm gonna do.
After Jesus is gone, the crew sneaks back into Richmond. David tells the crew to hole up at his residence in the city, so Javi goes to Gabe and Kate to take them there. It's here where we're presented with a surprisingly important choice. Not because it's mechanically impactful, of course it isn't, but because it's beginning to set up an important aspect of Kate's character, one that doesn't pay off until the ending of the game, or at least by Chapter 5's start. But you might start to pick up on this early. Kate has had strong feelings towards David since game start. Once again, I'll reiterate, no clear inciting incident for why she wants to leave David. Here, Javi and the player are put to the test. Do you value your brother more, particularly now that he's in the middle of a political struggle, and convince Kate to stay in the city until it's over? Or do you attempt to escape with Kate before the outcome of David's coup can be revealed? The choice doesn't matter because you'll always end up back at the church where David will find out what you did, but it does matter for the sake of the story. For now, I'm going to pick to escape with Kate because I think it makes for a funnier outcome, at the expense of being a little out of character for Javi. He gets caught trying to escape with Kate, and at the church, David is just shocked that his own brother tried to ditch him at a moment of crisis.
They were trying to leave. Him and his lady friend.
Leave? I asked you to get Kate and Gabe safe, not tuck your tail and run. Were you really gonna desert me when I needed you most?
It makes David come off as totally incompetent. He thinks he has allies, but his own brother and wife tried to ditch the city without him?
Embarrassing.
In any case, David finally points his fingers at Joan, seeking Lingard and Clint's aid in seeing what she's done to neighboring cities. The New Frontier are obsessed with punishing thievery. It's the main reason why Max was so antagonistic in the very first episode, and is the same reason why Clementine got exiled without Alvin in tow. They just really hate thieves. Well, it takes one to know one, because obviously the New Frontier's nastiest goons have been stealing from settlements all along, and it's all under Joan's orders.
Me, Badger, and Lonnie, we ran the ops. Off Joan's orders.
God damn it, Max.
I'm washing my hands of this, man.
Joan. How could you?
Clint and Lingard are on the fence, but even with some strong evidence, Lingard isn't brave enough to stand up to them.
Paul, come on.
I'm sorry. My hands are tied.
This is not over, Joan.
The guards, on Joan's orders, take you and David back to the cell from the start of the chapter, and the episode ends. We get this weird teaser where David goes, I've got friends here, and the soldier on the side leaves all like, this isn't right. But by my account, this goes nowhere. It's more like, I've got a friend and it's fucking Caillou over here. Another cliffhanger, only this time you're left thinking, damn David, you're like totally not the drill sergeant I thought you were. The guy in charge of security has been totally outmaneuvered by the chief diplomat. At this point, she's behaving more like the head of a spy agency than a foreign service, which is cool, you know? It's like two sides of the same coin. One deals in compromise, the other in coercion, and Joan's committed to one. I fuck with that. Still, I feel like this is the start of some of the game's biggest problems because the payoff to this betrayal never comes. It only gets worse from here. A big element of A New Frontier is a theme around growth and the awkwardness that comes with it. Specifically, we're going to talk about our two child characters, Gabe and Clementine, who I've neglected to focus on so far, because I wanted to save it for this part. As you well know, awkwardness is the theme of this whole video, so it's no wonder that Gabe and Clementine, entering into their teenage years, they're going to be going through emotional roller coasters for the duration of this stage of their life. For Clementine, adulthood came kind of early. The moment that her babysitter lunged at her newfound father in the very first scene of the very first game, Clementine has had to expedite her maturity. We got a pretty close look at what that looked like in Season 2, and now we have to endure how that growth will happen, physically.
I started bleeding. I know, it's a thing. I've traveled with women before, and they all had it. What is it? I mean, like, why is it... I just don't understand.
Clem can survive on her own, but she still doesn't understand how her body works, and I'm both surprised and grateful that Telltale brought that front and center. They did not shy away from that fact, even if it can be an uncomfortable conversation.
It's totally normal. I mean, it's something female women have. It's, what's next? It's not fun, I know that, but Kate manages. You'll be fine too.
For Gabe, growth isn't so much about physical, but emotional. His goal throughout the whole game is to live up to the men that surround him, his father figures. Initially it's David, but over time it becomes Javi. He wants to be useful, resourceful, independent. He wants to be a man, and it's through Javi, instead of David, that he realizes he need not be any of those things to be a man. We get fun ways in which Gabe develops emotionally too. He has a crush on Clementine, and it's implied that it's mutual. The problem with Gabe is that he's underdeveloped as a character. I need him to mature emotionally, and he just doesn't get there by the game's end.
What we need to be talking about is the plan. Oh, I have a bunch of ideas. I want to be the one to go after Dad. Just give me a gun and I'll do whatever.
Gabe wants to be more like his dad, David, a tough leader who can protect his family no matter the cost. Clem wants to be more like her dad, Lee, a tough leader who can protect his family no matter the cost. Two sides of the same acne-ridden coin, yet those two characters couldn't be more different. Growing Pains is also about this game though. Awkward is our magic word for the day, and as you'll see in episode 4, Telltale's approach to storytelling sacrifices satisfying storytelling in favor of shock and surprise. That can work, don't get me wrong, but here, it does not. Episode 4 starts with another flashback. David and Javi are hanging out at a batting cage well before the apocalypse started. We get a brief view into Javi and David's brotherly relationship, as well as some more opportunity to flex Javi's baseball muscles.
It's out of here. Holy cow.
You just had to rub it in, didn't you?
It also works to contrast Javi's relationship with David 3 years ago with today's, because right now, David and Javi are pretty pissed at each other.
After I brought you in, after I saved your asses, this is how you treat me? Betrayal?
This doesn't happen if Javi had just gone along with David in the last episode. Only if you try to escape with Kate. While I still think it's funny that Javi keeps getting caught red-handed, trying to be with Kate, and David is just none the wiser, I think it's more important to call out that this whole moment serves to highlight that the game is making it really, really clear that, from Javi's point of view, the choice between Kate and David is mutually exclusive. Every move in David's favor is a step back for Kate, and vice versa. That the game is actively tracking you on how you behave around these two characters, particularly when they're in the same room, and perhaps inviting judgment sometime in the future. Hopefully, anyway, possibly. You know, there's one thing you should know by now, is that Telltale games are inconsistent about which decisions to keep track of. Anyway, the two goofballs make up immediately, until Joan comes down and goes, "Fuck you," and takes David away. First awkward moment of the episode. Check out how easy it is for Javi to escape. Admittedly, Javi needed someone on the outside to make this little plan here work, but Kate just kind of materializes out of nowhere, pulls on the bars with relative ease, and just like that, we're out of jail, scot-free. Yo! Where are the guards? Kate takes Javi to a hideout where the rest of the crew is waiting, safe and sound. They're feeling pretty vulnerable though, especially if an all-out war does break out between David and Joan's respective factions, so the team agree to raid the armory for weapons, just in case. Gabe already knows where to go because David toured him off-screen.
I know where there's guns. My dad showed me. There are lots. I can take us.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Sneaking into the armory goes surprisingly well. The place is barely guarded. But Javi gets stabbed anyway, and it's Ava that comes in to save the day.
Jeez, I can't leave you guys alone for 2 minutes, can I?
And by help, I mean she comes in right after the action's over.
Starting to think siding with you might have not been the best idea.
Thanks, Ava, but now we gotta patch Javi up. Quick detour into Lingard's station, and we find out that the dude is a major junkie. He uses a whole cocktail of drugs, and is hopelessly addicted.
You fucking high again? Pull yourself together before the others see you. Deal with the damn kid.
Guess who's here? Hey, Clementine, what's up?
I started bleeding.
Uh-oh. Clem doesn't have anyone to talk to about puberty, and because all her moms and dads keep shooting each other, Javi's all she's got. So when it's time to explain to Clem why she's suddenly bleeding once a month, Javi uses what little daddy skills he has to walk Clementine through the miracles of life. Clem doesn't know what's going on with her, but she takes Javi's words as gospel, because at this point he's the closest thing to a Lee or a Jane that she's got. In fact, there's a chance this version of Clementine has only had father figures since the apocalypse started.
I can take you back to Kate. She can help you with,
Javi, worry about yourself right now.
I wish this game had more moments like this. Some of the best moments in the first game were just Lee teaching Clementine how to shoot, cutting her hair, saving her from eating Mark. There was real pressure in Game 1 to look out for Clem. And I think the intended effect in Game 3 is that you're looking out for your whole family. But it just doesn't come off with the same sense of urgency. Nothing Javi is unique in doing. Right now, right here, Javi is the only person who can help Clementine, and it's not about killing walkers or bandits. It's just walking her through life. It's the daddy game, y'all.
Look, I know I'm probably not the best person to talk to about that stuff before.
You weren't that bad. Thanks for, being here.
Basically, all this means is you could become a mom, if you wanted.
Funny. I already felt like a mom.
This was touching, but Lingard interrupts, begging for the sweet release of death. No, seriously, Lingard is so depressed and under the influence that he's willing to give Clementine valuable information on Alvin's location if Javi is willing to inject him with a lethal dose of something.
That's what this is about, then. You want to know where the boy is?
What do you want?
I just want to die.
It's a pretty consequential choice because just like Conrad, Lingard can live or die, permanently, based on the player's decisions here. So, what will you do? Better question, what did you think I did? Because obviously the correct choice here is to not kill Lingard, right? Even if it disappoints Clementine, the act of killing a man for the chance of finding Alvin just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Plus, this is the town doctor we're talking about. It doesn't matter if he wants to die. There's a potential war rumbling in the streets of Richmond. We need all the professional help we can get.
Don't forget to stick around to handle the after part. I don't want to become one of those monsters.
What is wrong with me? Whether or not Lingard is alive or dead, we head back to where our crew is holding out to recoup and plan our next move. Your choices catch up to you here, mainly the ones around killing the two optional deaths of this game, Conrad and Lingard. Lingard's not really a big deal, though clearly Eleanor's not psyched about being auto-promoted to Chief Doctor.
Actually, Lingard's dead.
Oh my god.
He asked me to help him end it, so I helped him.
I had no idea things had gotten that bad for him.
He was done with all this.
It's Conrad's death, if it's still possible here, that comes out when Gabe announces it, out loud in order to get at Javi for not including him in the final rescue mission.
Nobody here is gonna let you be a martyr, Gabe. Your life is precious.
Life is precious? Then how come you shot Conrad, huh? Back in the tunnel, when he came after us, he tried to bargain with you, but you thought killing him would be easier.
Don't do this, kid! Not right now!
This scene is excruciating, truly cringy in a way that I have never seen before in this series, as this turbo nerd I'm forced to call a nephew sabotages my entire relationship with the Prescott crew. Literally the two most dependable people in Richmond, antagonized instantly.
He had a gun on them! If I hadn't killed him, he was gonna shoot Clementine and Gabe.
He's telling the truth. When Conrad found out that I used to run with New Frontier, he went crazy. He would have pulled the trigger, no question.
I guess we'll never know, right? Because he's not here to tell his side of things. You made sure of that.
Neither of these scenes will happen if Lingard and Conrad are still alive. I'm thinking this is why my impression of Gabe is so poor. My first ever playthrough of this game, and I had to endure this savage betrayal from him. Irredeemable. The group hatches a plan to steal a truck from the New Frontier. The goal is to, presumably, use it as an escape vehicle. The plan goes smoothly. So smooth, in fact, that Kate uses the energy from that success to confess her love to Javi.
Whatever this thing is between us, I want to give it a chance. And I know the fact that David is back in our lives now makes this whole thing a little more complicated. But do you feel the same way? I'd really like to know.
Let's go for it. We gotta try, right?
Oh my god, really?
Really.
So are we gonna... Okay. Yeah. Shit. We're doing this.
This is completely independent of how you've treated her all game. Obviously, the main tension here is your relationship with David. Kate's moved on, clearly, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're ready to pounce on your brother's wife. We're back to awkward choices, because I think there has to be a better way to approach this choice than just a yes or no ultimatum. It's a limit of the medium that we can't ask Kate to think about it for a second. Frankly, it'd be unreasonable to expect a huge degree of complexity in a Telltale game. It's still not an RPG after all. But the fact of the matter is that choices tend to be binary in these games, and those binary choices make things predictable, less abstract. For a choice like this, though, at this point in the game, I just felt like it was unrealistic to leave it as a yes or a no. Today, right now. No nuance, no wait, let me break the news to David, no give me a chance to just think about it. Do you love me, yes or no? And unless this is a cynical view into the modern dating scene, I don't think this is the story that Telltale is going for. I think they're just trying to force tension between David and Javi, and it's Kate who needs to be sacrificed to do so. Saying no to Kate here permanently cockblocks you for the rest of Javi's journey, hurting Kate in the short term. Saying yes locks you into a formal situationship with your in-law, hurting David in the long run. There's no way to make everyone happy here. At the very least, the build-up to this scene feels justified. All the signs were there that the player was going to be asked to commit to Kate or not. Home wrecking is palatable because we knew it was coming. In any case, it's time to go save David.
Javi, it's an execution over here. She's planning to hang David in front of the whole crowd. You've got to get over here now.
Javi shows up at the execution, where Joan is just straight up LARPing as the governor. She's got David stringed up and Badger's corpse on full display. Potentially Lingard's if you assisted in his death. She singles Javi out from the crowd, and they have a passionate argument in front of the entire crowd?
Javier! I'd heard you were planning to crash our little party. Why don't you come on up here? Show your face to everyone. I'm sure these people would like to hear what you have to say.
Happy to. Been waiting for this all day.
Yeah, they get into a yelling match in an attempt to persuade the people of Richmond to follow along with this public execution. It's so weird. Instead of seizing Javi right then and there, Joan manipulates Lingard and Badger's deaths for her interests, spinning Javi and David up as cruel murderers. This wouldn't be so bad if not 2 seconds later she pulls out Ava and Tripp and forces Javi to choose one or the other to be executed too. A strange show of force from someone who's pretending to be a benevolent leader. Even Clint is like,
Joan, are you sure about this? We never agreed to killing all these people.
For someone who came off as calm and collected, her appearance here seems cartoonishly evil.
I can do anything I want. You brought this on yourself.
Where does this come from? The dilemma is clear though. Tripp or Ava, who will you save?
Your friend or your brother's lieutenant?
If it wasn't obvious already, I don't care for Ava. I don't dislike her, she's just underdeveloped, plain and simple. Even in Clementine's flashback scenes, it feels like Ava has no real connection to the player. It's not even a matter of screen time. Like I said when I first introduced her, most of Ava's scenes occur because there's a proxy in between her and Javi. The only one-on-one time you get with her is through those Clementine flashbacks. The most amount of time you get with Ava is in this episode, but only if you've been making decisions that favor David. Like that one about staying in Richmond. It's surprisingly consequential in the sense that Ava joins you for more of the game. One notable example is that scene in the armory. Gabe sneaks you in alone if you try to run from Richmond with Kate. But Ava's here had you decided to stay. She's kind of a badass, or at least she's supposed to appear as one. She says she has agency, independence, choice, something that contrasts her with Tripp. He's pissed as fuck right now because I killed Conrad on this run. But were they both still around, Tripp would be the closest thing Javi has to a best friend at this point. The only person who's closer is Kate, but she wants to be more than friends, so really, Tripp's your guy.
I'm liking the cut of your jib, Javi.
Fundamental to Tripp's story this game is his fractured relationship with Eleanor. Tripp looks to you for guidance, for advice, for leadership. He puts his trust in you and executes on your asks. The life he is trying to build during the apocalypse depends largely on Javi.
I'm sorry, buddy. I don't know what to do.
Just follow your heart. That's all any of us have left anymore, right?
Thanks, man. I'll talk it over with Eleanor and watch over things here. You've got my word. I won't let anything happen to anyone.
Thank you.
You see what I'm saying? Depends. Independs. Ironically enough, by making Ava this tough, no-nonsense, independent badass, her character remains distant from the player. By having us care for Tripp, through actions and dialogue sequences the player directly controls, we endear ourselves to him. We feel responsible for him. It's one daddy taking care of another this time. This is the exact secret sauce that makes the daddy game work, fundamentally. Clementine depends on Lee. Clementine depends on Luke, on Kenny, on Jane. Clementine, Kate, David, and Gabe all depend on Javi. They depend on each other to make the right calls. But throughout the game, so too did Tripp. It's only here in this final choice that now Ava's life is in our hands. Sorry, my dear viewer, but that's just not enough time to care about Ava, who really only depends on David as a friend and mentor throughout this game, and to the New Frontier as a reason to live.
For me, staying alive has always been about finding people I could trust as much as they trusted me. That's what the New Frontier has been. A silver lining. Made me feel worth a damn. Kept me going in the worst of times. You'll find yours.
But the New Frontier are just too disconnected from the player right now because we're likely at the point where we're most against them. Right here. Right now. Eleanor may have just confessed to ruining the whole plan against Joan, regardless of whether Lingard and Conrad are still alive. But that doesn't cancel out all the things that Tripp has done for you. Frankly, it's not a betrayal that seems to come from Tripp at all. You have so many opportunities to spurn Tripp this game. Killing Conrad, brutalizing Badger, defending Clementine in the jail cell, until he finds out about that first one. If it happens at all, he's your boy through and through. To me, it was obvious. I didn't even hesitate. I picked Tripp, no question. I moved on from Ava's death before the choice bubbles had even faded away.
Son of a bitch.
Javi, what the fuck is wrong with you?
You're not making David happy, but I respect you for sticking up for your own people. Shoot it.
Question to you, viewer. Is this a cheap death? Is tricking the player into making a choice that hurts them a good way to tell a video game story? Obviously the answer is, it depends, but in this case, I was so surprised by the outcome of the choice I made on screen that I almost have to hand it to Telltale. They got me! They broke the sacred contract established since game 1. Choosing to save Tripp gets him killed, and doing the same for Ava gets her killed. Joan doubles down on the cruelty and executes the person you intended to save. Immediately, you might be thinking, had I chosen Ava, would Tripp be alive? This entire situation feels kind of meta too, mainly because of that whole ramble I just gave you. That I was so totally sold on Tripp this whole game made the outcome of this choice hurt that much more. I was in sync with Javi, devastated that I played a role in Tripp's death, almost directly. It's just a shame that Telltale doesn't know when to hold on to a good thing, because this feeling of guilt and captivation is spoiled near the start of the next episode. If you've played this game before, you know where this is going. Clint finally gets a fucking spine after everything he's just seen. He doesn't stop the ultimatum or the execution. No. It's after Joan has pulled the trigger that he realizes she's bad for business. Tripp's death is enough punishment, so he concedes David's freedom so long as you all leave Richmond for good. Water under the bridge. You can shoot Joan here anyway, avenging Tripp and silencing a dictator before she can do any more harm, in front of a crowd of onlookers.
Go to hell, Joan!
This results in David nearly getting hanged and Clint getting away.
Son of a bitch! Get back here!
Or you can accept Clint's conditions, which still causes David to go gun crazy, pinning Clint with an arm choke and blasting him in the face for getting in the way of his family. Technically, this choice matters only to the extent that either Clint or Joan die for certain. Either way, the survivor disappears from the story after this scene, and it's never explained where Clint or Joan go after episode 4. War breaks out with the New Frontier. Clem and Javi have an invisible force field called plot armor that lets them survive long enough to have Kate show up with the truck, only she storms the walls like Crazy Taxi, ramming straight into Richmond's walls, bringing forth the horde that was already encircling Richmond before this loud-ass shootout even happened, flooding the city with walkers.
Gotta get over there before...
And then the episode ends, and you're just left thinking, what the fuck? Because if you're following along my path of the game, then in the span of like 20 minutes, Gabe exposed you to your friends, Kate confessed her love for you, Tripp dies, Clint dies, Joan gets away with it all, and now there's a Walker horde invading Richmond. Credits roll, so we'll just have to keep going till the next episode, huh? Family is the most important theme in the game, but it's in its ending that we get to answer many of the game's remaining questions. Can Gabe redeem himself from the temper tantrum he threw last episode? Can Kate redeem herself for breaching the walls to Richmond, unleashing hell upon its inhabitants, much like Badger did a day before? Can David redeem himself in the eyes of his family as both a father, a husband, and a brother? Redemption is the one thing all the main characters have in common, and it's through each other that some of them find redemption by game's end. In Javi's case, failure has followed him since before the apocalypse, and so coming in and filling in David's shoes has basically redeemed him already before the game even starts. Clementine feels like she's abandoned Alvin, like she's failed as a caretaker and as a person. She's got some pretty incredible people to live up to, remember? So it's no wonder that Alvin means so much to her. She is the lead Alvin, and until she gets him back, she can't really think about anything else.
I used to have Lee. You never mentioned him. He took care of me for a while. Every time I would look at AJ, I could hear him in my head, helping me, guiding me. He's still with you, you know, here.
Off the shock of the last episode's ending, we get the final flashback for Javi's story. A dominoes game between Javi, David, and their father. Quick side note and nitpick, why aren't they playing Latin American style dominoes? David and Javi should be on the same team here, since they're facing each other. Total missed opportunity to hit at their cultural background and do some brotherly teamwork bonding. The whole purpose of this scene. Instead, we just get more jeering between the two. Ha ha.
Kicked out of baseball. Can't play dominoes. What exactly are you good at again, Javi?
Garcia Sr. tells the two that he's got mega cancer, and it won't be long before the two brothers need to man up and run the family themselves. You can pressure him to take cancer treatment, which obviously doesn't matter. What's the opposite of plot armor? A death sentence? A death flag? The dude is doomed. Instead, it's this subtle moment between just him and Javi where he instills his fatherly wisdom about brothers needing to take care of one another.
I'm gonna be a name carved in stone before you know it, Javier. That'll be me. Letters on a rock that nobody wants to visit. I know you think you're strong enough to handle that alone. And so does your brother. And you're both wrong. You have to take care of each other. You two are all I'll leave behind. Like Gabe and Mariana will be for David.
Right now, David's taking care of Javi, letting him live in his house, rent-free. But tomorrow, it might be David who needs help. Is Javi going to give it to him? Back in the present, chaos has completely taken hold of Richmond. David and Javi fight through the Horde, reuniting with Kate, who's not dead. Yippee! And with Clem and Gabe, fending for themselves together. Cute. Honestly, hiding behind Clementine might be the smartest thing Gabe has done all game. Now that's character development.
Nice!
I got a great teacher.
The crew catch their breath inside of the nearest building. With the town now overrun by walkers, this place marks a short respite where we can finally discuss what just happened. You see, what I neglected to mention about Clint's murder is that he does so with Gabe right in front of him. Gabe might be foolish, naive, wimpy, and lame, but he's not a bad person, so watching his father blast Clint in the balls snaps Gabe back to your side. The room kind of just closes in on David. We see him try to justify the events of the last episode, begging his family to see things the way he does, but they just can't.
They still would have killed us, sooner or later.
You screwed up, David. You were completely out of control. Now everyone in town's gonna think you've lost your mind.
His brains splattered all over me.
You are my son. I am doing what any parent would do to keep you safe. You do not get to judge my actions. Do you hear me? Hey, you do not walk away from me!
I've never talked about this, so take this with a grain of salt. But Telltale is known for their choppy animations. This moment right here, though, this desperate look on his face from David, really sold me on his character. It was a rare moment in which the animation did its job. When it comes to family, David is not kidding around. He blasts Clint, not out of some grudge or power move like old Joan here, but because he's in the way of his family. What David just can't seem to understand is that there is no world, apocalyptic or otherwise, in which he can have it all. And that if anything, his attempts at family bonding are causing them to see him for who he really is, an erratic soldier with a penchant for violence. Thankfully for David, there's still one person in this building who might be willing to see his side through. It might not appear so from Javi's dialogue in this scene, but despite what Gabe and Kate might be feeling right now, Javi is all that David has left. He's the most important relationship David has, and it just so happens that Javi is the player. It's no coincidence then that for David, it's you he needs to persuade and convince now. Do you think David can be redeemed?
Cut it out, David. You don't need to show how big and bad and tough you are to a 14-year-old boy.
He needs to be taught the same way I taught you.
The crew make their way through the apartment complex where we hatched this whole plan to begin with. Depending on who's dead by now, Eleanor will treat you differently. Because my run is based on death and destruction, I'm proud to admit that in my first recording of this game, I ended up with a dead Conrad, a dead Tripp, and a dead Lingard. So at this point, Eleanor might genuinely think she's next.
Everyone but Prescott is dead. Everyone but me.
She's pissed, rightfully so. Despite that, she's got an oath to keep, being a doctor and all. Brushing everything with a straightforward,
"What's done is done."
Then she blames Kate for all the wounded and dying in the apartment. I really find it funny just how many lives Kate has indirectly taken. With the Horde overrunning Richmond, Kate has probably caused more death than Badger from the first half of the game. Obviously, it's unintentional, that nuance is important, but nevertheless ironic. One of the soldiers Javi could kill throughout the game is here, Rufus, the guy who was driving you all the way back in episode 1, who might just be another one of evil Javi's victims at this point. I'm genuinely surprised you're the one guy to survive my rampage. Well, not for long, because he's been bit and it's time to put him down. His wife Fern is taking the news really well. So much so that she kindly requests that Javi and his friends back the fuck up to put an end to Javi's antics before he can kill anybody else.
Got my little girl killed!
got my whole fucking family killed. Richmond was fine until your stupid ass showed up.
It's David's immediate reaction that prompts this nail-biting scene.
No! Burn!
Holy shit! Oh my god!
David.
Oh my god! Dad!
You're welcome, Javi.
That dead guy!
David, what are you doing?
This isn't right!
David! Oh my god. This is unacceptable.
She wasn't gonna shoot!
Believe me, she was. Because I would have.
No! David! Gabe! I'm sorry, that was an accident.
You were going to kill her!
It's here where I finally locked in on David as a character. He's brash and a tad unhinged, but he's not evil. Sure, he just killed a man, and almost kills that man's wife, but one of them threatened his family's life, and the other is just a victim of the cruel world of The Walking Dead. This is nothing Rick Grimes hasn't done before. Yet, we love him plenty for it. Why is it so bad when David does it? Why is there still such a strong feeling of justice amongst his family members that David's clearly unaware of? It's funny to me that despite everything going on, Clementine is in the back, unimpressed. She might be the only person in the room who agrees with David's decisions here. The only sign of regret from David is this accidental punch he gives Gabe, and I love this moment when he finally realizes his situation.
So I'm all alone.
Yeah, no shit. It's not subtle, but it is the point of his whole character. It's just unfortunate that the moment is ruined by a lapse in maturity.
Fine then. You people are on your own.
I guess we know where Gabe gets it. Javi follows David up to the roof, suspiciously perched over the edge of the building you're on. He's not pulling a Lingard here though, he's reminiscing. We get to peer into David's mind for a moment, to see the world the way he does.
See that sewer line over there? Perfect placement for a trench. That hill about 100 paces west of it. Sniper's wildest dream come true. I'm a soldier, Javi. I see this landscape like a painter sees a blank canvas. Like how you used to see a baseball diamond. I'm a soldier. This makes sense to me.
That he looks at the world like a battlefield, a war to be won, tells us everything we need to know about him, and his interactions with other people. It comes back to what I talked about in the last episode. David's perspective, his philosophy, is inherently bound by his profession, and that profession makes him a great soldier, capable of protecting his people, but it makes him a poor father and a poor husband. He is incapable of separating himself from that identity when he needs to, and until he does, he won't be able to connect with his family like he wants to.
Call yourself whatever you want. I still see you as my brother.
That is kind of you to say, Javi. I wish I had your heart sometimes.
Kate and the gang show up to reunite with David, despite all that nonsense from earlier. Ava is here too. We have to apologize to her for choosing Trip and all. And in her defense, she actually takes it pretty well.
You don't have to say anything to me. Your actions said plenty. I read you loud and clear. But go ahead and say whatever you want.
I stand by my decision. I'd do it again.
Just be glad the situation was what it was. And that she didn't make me pick between you and your brother.
Since the leadership of the New Frontier is essentially non-existent, it's up to Javi and the team to fix the problem they created. The plan is to plug the hole in the wall with a big-ass bulldozer in the same garage where Kate confessed to us an episode ago. Only now we have to get there via parkour. Fucking whoops. On the way there, we get some cool conversations with the kids. Gabe is all like, I should have been a better nephew. You're my real dad, Javi.
Never be like your uncle. He told me that all the time. Don't be a man who relies on other people to solve your problems. Because then you're not a man at all. I used to think he was right. Not anymore though, Javi. I can only hope I grow up to be like you.
And Clem is all like, David isn't perfect, but those are some high standards anyway.
I know Gabe doesn't see it, but David really is trying to look out for him. He's not doing the best job, but no one gives you a rule book to raise a kid.
And they sure as shit don't.
Watching Clint get shot, seeing David fend for his family, these events flip the perspectives of both Gabe and Clementine, which I find to be super interesting. Gabe had this glorified perspective of his father, and that's been sullied by his wanton murder of Clint and Rufus just now. Clem nearly shoots Javi in episode 3 for letting David into the warehouse. Now she's starting to see that David and her are not so different. They'd go to any lengths to protect their families. I fuck with that. It's not as simple as David bad, even if Kate, Gabe, Eleanor, and Javi on occasion tip the scales towards that premise. I like that Gabe is starting to see the light, but because Clem's the one with the nuance, it unfortunately highlights just how naive Gabe continues to be. Which is prudent from Telltale's part, because we're almost at this game's finish line and all of these characters are about to be put to the ultimate test. But before that, we have to go through the single worst part of the whole game, and possibly the worst death in the series, beat only by Luke's in Season 2. In an attempt to cross this gap, the gang sidles their way through a couple of cars. You think they're gonna fall through and tumble to their doom, but instead a rogue zombie lunges onto either Ava or Tripp, depending on who's alive, and just like that, they're gone. The whole drama from last episode's ending undone in a moment that passes by so quickly, even the characters move on in mere seconds, like nothing ever happened.
Ava sacrificed herself to save me. She was a fighter, didn't take shit from anybody. You were lucky to have her. We all were.
I would have died a long time ago without her.
Thank you, Ava. Goodbye, my friend.
What the fuck? Telltale just couldn't wait to get rid of our lucky side character, could they? This is so shit, it's embarrassing. But I shouldn't harp on it. I really don't think Telltale themselves are proud of what they did here. It's so clearly bad that I'm able to just play the clip again so you can see it twice. The zombie just barrels at Ava. It's almost like it waits for her to pass by before jumping out. It makes no sense. Why doesn't it jump when, say, David or Gabe's loud ass make a move towards the car? Why does it wait for the last person before doing its thing? What I don't understand is why they needed to kill Ava and Tripp at all. It would make that last episode's choice feel impactful by forcing the player to live with that decision. Instead, what you're telling me here is that this choice doesn't matter. Technically, if that was the intent, then it's pretty on brand for Telltale, isn't it? This is a low point in the series. At the garage now, finally, Javi uses an old trick to sneak by the zombies. Thank you, Clementine.
Cut a walker open and cover yourself with its guts. Then you can slip right through them. What?
That works? You can do that. Huh. Learn something new every day.
So, who's gonna do it?
Once inside, David reveals his true plan all along. He has no intentions to save Richmond. He's going to use one of the only remaining cars to whisk the full squad away, should they want to leave. Obviously, David underestimates just how attached Clem, Javi, and Kate are to Richmond, now that they're partly responsible for the infestation. Remember all that stuff about Gabe and coming to terms with how bad his dad is? Well, he decides to go with David too, and no amount of catering to Gabe throughout the whole game can change that. Hold on to your booty shorts because it only gets worse. Amidst all this drama, David finally confronts Kate and Javi for their behavior all game.
Let's go, Javi.
Why the fuck do you think he would go with you?
Well, if you confess to Kate, then she'll just walk up to Javi, plant him a full Frenchie, walker guts and all, and David just has to watch as his reality shatters in real time. The two reveal they've been secretly in love for years. Potentially since before the dead were walking. Clearly devastated, David lunges at Javi. It's your choice whether you decide to fight back, and doing so in any way crucifies you in the eyes of the game. You broke your promise to your father, to protect your brother and to save him from himself. Though it's not banging his wife that does that, but the solid spare clocks to the face you can give him that breaks that promise.
I love you. No, you don't get to say that!
Jesus Christ, stop!
David and Gabe split off, and you get the most pivotal moment in the game right here, right now. The ending of The Walking Dead: The New Frontier is based on two different things. Your relationship with Clementine, and who Javi chooses to save, Richmond or David. I've hinted at it this video, but Clementine has an invisible tracker that determines how likely she is to choose her own path at this very point. Or she'll go with Javi unconditionally. The more you show her your competence, leadership, and judgment, the more likely she is to help you. The irony here is that that doesn't necessarily mean a better ending. It just means that Clem trusts you more, and you'll be locked into 2 guaranteed outcomes depending on what you decide to do next. Kate wants to go back to save Richmond, but someone needs to go chase David and Gabe down, just to make sure that they got out okay. So what you end up with is a situation where you can either help Kate with Clem, or alone, or help David and Gabe with Clem, or alone. Those are your 4 possible outcomes. Right now though, you'll only have 2, depending on how Clem treats you. There's a chance that she'll decide to do the opposite of what Javi does, or she'll be stubborn and always commit to saving Richmond. Clem, like in season 1, has her own priorities, and I love that about this ending, because it's judgment on 2 accounts. Who do you like more, Kate or the fellas? Were you good enough for Clem? Yay or nay? As you might expect, the Clementine on this route probably thinks I'm a psychopath, but don't worry, I'll go through all 4 endings in no particular order. Here we go.
Javi, I'm sorry. I've been here before, more than once. It's not gonna end well for everyone.
If Javi and Clem both go back with Kate to save Richmond, then they'll use a bulldozer to enter Richmond, clearing out walkers along the way. They get some help from Jesus, who shows up to save the day alongside some of his crew from the kingdom. Richmond is saved, Kate plugs the hole she opened, and the team celebrates a job well done, but not before rushing back out to find David and Gabe. Unfortunately, tragedy has already struck by the time you catch up to them. Javi and Clem arrive at the scene of a car crash, where David is already dead before Javi could ever resolve his problems with him. To make matters worse, Gabe is in the corner, turning. He's been bitten on the wrist and it's too late to cut it off. This ending sees David and Gabe killed off for good. It's a brutal sequence, having to watch Javi and Clem say goodbye to Gabe forever.
I tried to stop him, Javi. That's when we crashed.
God damn. David!
He fought for me, Javi. Until they... But I couldn't. There were so many. I fucked up. After everything you taught me. It really hurts.
Gabe even volunteers to put himself down, but ultimately it's up to Javi. I don't know whether this was the right choice, but having Javi carry it out mirrors a lot of the scenes throughout the series, of parents having to put their reanimated children down, or vice versa. If you carried over Jane's ending with Clem, you'll even get to see a little bit more of Clem and Gabe's relationship before it's essentially over. What could have been.
Bye, Gabe.
Bye, Clem.
This is fucked up, y'all. They really brought out the big guns for these endings. Man, does this series ever get a happy ending?
You may not be my father, Javi, but you were a great dad.
It's a theme in all 4 endings in this game that someone's gonna die. The shock of seeing David splayed out in the car, and the seconds of time we get to even process that visual before having to endure Gabe's whole death sequence really just shows me that Telltale wanted to follow through on the last 2 games' climaxes. Which, hey, fair enough. For all the beef per se I may have with each game, the endings tend to do their job, and this game is no different. There's something particularly tragic about our unresolved relationship with David, but that Gabe had to die too is just salt in the wound. Had Clem and I split up, would Gabe be alive?
I love you, Javi.
I love you too, buddy.
So let's say Javi and Clem do the opposite. They run out to save David and Gabe. The 2 show up just in time and manage to free the car they're in from walkers. This must have been what was happening right before David ends up like, you know. After clearing the walkers, David finally breaks down, confessing that he's just incapable of change. No amount of stoicism or military bravado can bring back the family dynamic that existed before the apocalypse. His unwillingness to accept that nearly got him and Gabe killed.
I can't change, Javi. I want to, but we're in a war that's never gonna end. I was kidding myself. We're never going home. That hope died the same day we all drove away.
Of course, we know that, even without the apocalypse, his family dynamic was doomed. But he lets all these feelings out here, and only here. We have a surprising judgment moment here. So long as you're on this ending, the game does take into account all the different ways that you've treated David. All those decisions throughout the game, siding with him in the very first council meeting, respecting his relationship with Kate even when he's not looking, being honest with him, all those add up here and only here.
You should come back with us.
Thanks. But too much has changed, Javi.
That doesn't matter.
Maybe it doesn't matter to you.
Legacy, David. It's all anyone leaves behind.
David decides that it might just be best to leave Richmond for good, alone. He's not going to take Gabe with him. He's a loose cannon. If he's going to die, he'd rather just do it far away from his family. If you were successful in your efforts to be a better brother, you can save David. You can bring him back to Richmond safe and sound, or watch him walk away, never to be seen or heard from again. No matter what you do, you'll come back to Richmond and be greeted by Jesus again, who helps clear the city from walkers. Among the walkers' forces, though, is a reanimated Kate. Leaving her to save Richmond alone dooms her to a fate worse than death, and Javi can choose to put her down or keep her in zombie form, to roam the world of The Walking Dead until her body decays or another survivor manages to do what Javi couldn't. Unfortunately, there's no way to keep both David and Kate alive. It's not possible in the remaining two endings, and it's made the most evident in the two endings we've seen so far. If you're gonna take your brother's side, then we have to get Kate out of the picture. The universe decides to facilitate that, and off she goes. If you want to live happily ever after with Kate, then unfortunately your brother can't be alive to see that. It's an extreme way of showing you that choices do matter. Javi can't be a friend to all. He especially can't keep David and Kate in his life. And I think this would be true even if this was the real world. One of them is going to walk away from Javi if the other stays, and that's what Telltale is saying here. There's no wrong choice this time either. It just is what it is. Splitting Javi and Clementine mitigates the damage of the other two endings. Deaths don't necessarily reshuffle, Javi just does something while Clem does something. In this ending, Javi does the whole bulldozer thing for Kate. Jesus shows up and all that, but instead of going back for Clementine and Gabe, she comes back with Gabe in tow, and David is killed off screen. There's no tragic goodbye, no satisfying conclusion to Gabe or David's story. The good Garcias manage to survive the day unscathed, while David's story is swept aside. The characters commemorate him in mourning, but ultimately, his relationship with Javi is never salvaged, never resolved, never finished. It's milquetoast, unsatisfying. At the very least, this is probably the best ending you're gonna get for maximizing who lives and who dies. Gabe and Kate are both still alive, but it still feels like you let your brother down, and I wonder if Gabe and Kate feel that same way.
We should probably say something. That's what you do. Usually.
When you see Pa, you tell him I said hi.
I've saved this ending for last because this is what I got from the playthrough most of the content in this video is based on. If Clem and Javi split up and Clem's in Richmond, then Javi races to find David and Gabe trapped inside their car. He goes beast mode on some zombies for a couple minutes till they're all dead. You make it just in time to find a Gabe intact, but David all bitten up. It's here that David gives a little sermon. I should have been a better brother. I should have been a better father. I wish I was a little taller. I wish I was a baller.
You know what Pa told me? The day Gabe was born. What's that? It takes everything to raise a child, mijo.
And I don't mean money, or time, or patience. I mean everything. When you give everything, it's hard to know what to do when you lose everything.
You can forgive him before handing the gun back to Gabe, letting him put his own father down, mirroring the scene where Kenny can be convinced to put Duck down all the way back in Season 1. This means, parallel-wise, Gabe is Kenny and Javi is Lee. Nice. This whole ordeal really does turn Gabe into a little man. Meanwhile, back at home base, Clem and Jesus successfully clear Richmond out, meaning that no matter which ending you choose, Richmond always survives the game. It's Kate who's in trouble though. Or is she? Because that's kind of how the game leaves it. She's not turned into a walker, she's not dead on the side of the road, she's just gone. Like Joan before her, Kate's fate in this fourth ending is completely uncertain. Maybe she did the same thing David did and left for a different future, by herself, guilty from all the people she indirectly killed. Maybe she was bitten and decided to take care of it in some forest or something. Or maybe one of Jesus' fellow Kingdom Horsemen took her down while she was already zombified. Whatever the case, she's treated as dead as far as the characters are concerned, and as far as your save file is too. You never find out where Joan or Kate end up, leaving you with more questions than answers. And that goes for all the endings. They're consistently twisted. There's no objectively good or goodest ending, as basic as ending 3 might have been. By nature, bittersweet endings are emotionally impactful. I'm genuinely upset when I see Zombie Kate, or Kiss of Death Gabe, or What Remains of David Garcia. It's upsetting and effective, but they wouldn't work if there weren't 4 of them. To me, that's what seals the deal. No one ending comes out better than Season 1, or even Season 2's options. It's the range and outcomes that is interesting. I'm fully sold on the tragedy of this game's conclusion. The game wraps up its story by sending Clementine off to find Alvin. Clem and Javi share a final moment as he cuts her hair, reminiscing over the game's events, and then off she goes. Obviously, this part is meant to cement Javi's role as Clem's most recent and final protector, before she becomes the protector herself in the next game. Only now, Telltale is linking him directly to Lee, which is a nice touch. I'd hate for Clem's last memory of her mom, or dad's, to be whatever the fuck this was supposed to be. For once, Clem actually gets to say goodbye to somebody on her terms, and it's a Lee tier protector too. I'm not gonna lie y'all, I really liked Javi. Maybe just as much as I liked Lee, which is saying a lot, because that first game is still something special.
I'm gonna stab you with those scissors.
Despite everything, the third entry into the series still feels like a worthwhile experience. Obviously, it has flaws. For one, it's not doing anything new from a gameplay perspective, and it shoots itself in the foot sometimes, trying to be shocking. But it's definitely trying to broaden its emotional impact beyond just Clementine. It takes a risk with the Garcias, forces you to think about more than just one character all game. I think it's successful at that. Javi is the star, and his individual relationships to Kate, to Clem, to Gabe, and most importantly to David, end up as the single best thing this game does. It's the game's legacy as the third entry that remains unclear to me. Turns out I lied a little bit towards the beginning of the video. Javi does get mentioned in Game 4.
I met a guy who used to be a baseball player, like, for money.
See? Why didn't they mention him by name? That would have been a cool moment.
Was he good at it?
Don't know. We never got to play. He was good with a bat, though. Baseball sucks.
And they ruined it. Okay, that's the show, folks. Thank you so much for watching this video. This video was a long time coming, seeing as the first 2 games videos came out a year ago, which, am I a YouTuber now? I'm assuming those were flukes, and I've already killed my channel's momentum. Let me know what you think I should review next. I'm guessing you guys want me to start the next game too, so I'm definitely going to be working on that. But once that's done, I don't really know what else I could be doing as far as Telltale games or narrative games. Maybe something more gamey, not necessarily story-driven. You know, that Civ 6 video did pretty well. Maybe I'll do more strategy games. I don't think there's a lot of overlap between the Civ 6 fans and the Walking Dead fans, but now I'm rambling. Okay, jokes aside, thank you for watching. I will be hopefully faster on the next video. Just depends on the enthusiasm for this one. Till next time, bye y'all.